I never thought I would see my own soul hanging on a wall with a price tag of $150,000. My feet were throbbing like a bass drum inside my cheap black flats. I had been standing for 4 hours straight, balancing a silver tray loaded with champagne flutes that sparkled under the gallery lights. The room smelled like expensive perfume and old money. It was that kind of air that felt thin, like you had to pay a tax just to breathe it. I was just a ghost in a black vest and bow tie, weaving through a crowd of people who looked like they owned islands. To them I wasn't Maya. I wasn't a person with a history or a heartbeat. I was just a floating hand that delivered Prosecco. The gallery was called the Sterling Collection. It was the kind of place where the walls were white enough to blind you and the silence was heavy, broken only by the clinking of glasses and the hushed whispers of people pretending to understand art. I was working the back corner, near a sculpture that looked like a twisted car crash, when I turned around and saw it. My tray almost slipped from my sweaty fingers. My heart stopped. I mean, it literally felt like it seized up in my chest and refused to beat. It was canvas number 42. It was framed in thick, dark wood that probably cost more than my rent for the entire year. But I did not care about the frame. I cared about what was inside it. It was a painting of a kitchen. Not just any kitchen. It was a messy, chaotic swirl of bright yellows and deep blues. There was a table with 3 legs, a window looking out at a gray sky, and a small red flower in a cracked mug sitting on the windowsill. To anyone else in this room, it was just a piece of raw, emotional expressionism. Maybe they thought it represented urban decay, or the fragility of domestic life. But I knew the truth. I knew that the yellow paint was actually house paint we had found in the alleyway behind our apartment. I knew the blue was mixed with dish soap because I ran out of water. And I knew that red flower was a poppy my mom had picked for me the morning before the bad things happened. I walked toward it. I could not help myself. I felt like I was being pulled by a magnet. The chatter of the room faded into a dull roar, like static on a television. I stood in front of the painting, my breath hitching in my throat. There was a small white card next to it. Title: Innocence Lost. Artist: Anonymous. Price: $150,000. I felt sick. A hot wave of nausea rolled over me. $150,000. Someone was asking a fortune for a painting I made when I was 11 years old, sitting on the floor of a drafty apartment while my mom hummed along to the radio. "Excuse me, miss." The voice was smooth, like velvet wrapped around a jagged rock. I froze. I knew that voice. It had been 12 years, but you do not forget the voice of the man who ruined your life. I turned around slowly, gripping the silver tray so hard my knuckles turned white. Standing there was a man in a navy blue suit that fit him perfectly. He had silver hair now, styled back, and he was holding a glass of scotch. He looked distinguished. He looked trustworthy. That was his superpower. It was Marcus Sterling. Back then he wasn't a gallery owner. Back then he wore a wrinkled button-down shirt and carried a clipboard. He was the social worker assigned to my case. He was the one who came to our apartment that day. He was the one who told my mom that she was unfit, that the state was stepping in, that it was for my own good. I remember screaming. I remember clinging to her leg. I remember him peeling me off of her. And I remember the last thing I asked for. I asked for my painting. The one was drying on the kitchen table. Mr. Sterling had looked at it. He had smiled that sad fake smile. He told me he would keep it safe for me. He said he would put it in my file so I would have it when I got settled. He told me it was special. He stole it. Now, here he was 12 years later selling my childhood trauma to the highest bidder. "You are blocking the view," he said. His tone polite but dismissive. He did not recognize me. Why would he? I was just the help. I was a skinny kid with messy braids back then. Now I was a 23-year-old woman with tired eyes and a uniform. I stepped aside, my legs feeling like jelly. "I am sorry, sir," I said. My voice trembled, but he didn't notice. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at a couple standing next to him. A tall woman dripping in diamonds and a man who looked bored. "This piece is truly exceptional," Sterling said, gesturing to my painting. "We recovered it from the estate of a troubled young prodigy in Chicago. The artist passed away tragically young, but her work captures the pain of the inner-city experience like nothing else I have seen." Liar. The word screamed in my head, loud and violent. I wanted to throw the tray of champagne in his face. I wanted to tear the painting off the wall and smash it over his head. Dead? He was telling people I was dead? He was creating a fake backstory to drive up the price. He was erasing me completely. First he took me from my mother, and now he was killing me off to sell a lie. The woman in the diamonds leaned in, adjusting her glasses. It is haunting, she whispered. You can feel the desperation. I will take it, Marcus. Wonderful, Sterling said, beaming. A wise investment. I had to get out of there. The room was spinning. The walls were closing in. I turned and walked fast toward the catering kitchen in the back. I shoved the tray into the hands of another server, grabbed my purse and ran out the back door into the alley. The cold night air hit me like a slap in the face. I leaned against the brick wall and slid down until I was sitting on the dirty pavement. I put my head between my knees and tried to breathe. My mom never got me back. That was the part that hurt the most. After Sterling took me, the system swallowed me whole. Foster home after foster home. Some were okay, most were bad. I aged out at 18 with nothing but a trash bag of clothes and a lot of anger. I tried to find her, but she had died 3 years ago. A heart attack, they said. But I knew it was a broken heart. And all this time Marcus Sterling had my painting. He had probably been waiting for the right time to sell it. I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand. I wasn't going to cry. I was done crying. Crying didn't bring my mom back. Crying didn't get me out of the system. And crying wasn't going to get me my painting back. I needed proof. I pulled out my phone. It was an old model with a cracked screen, but it worked. I searched for the Sterling collection. The website was slick. It talked about Marcus Sterling's eye for raw talent and his dedication to preserving outsider art. I scrolled through the gallery inventory. There were other paintings listed as anonymous or attributed to artists with vague, tragic backstories. A drawing of a dog on cardboard. A watercolor of a park bench. A sculpture made of wire and bottle caps. They all looked like things kids would make. Talented kids, sure, but kids. Kids who didn't have expensive supplies. My stomach dropped. This wasn't just about me. He had done this before. He was a social worker for 20 years before he opened this gallery. How many kids did he separate from their families? And how many times did he confiscate their most precious belongings for safekeeping? He was harvesting us. He was taking the one thing we had left and turning it into a retirement fund. I stood up. The sadness was gone. It was replaced by something colder and sharper. Rage. I was going back inside. Not to make a scene. Not yet. I needed to be smart. I needed to see the back of that canvas. When I was a kid, I was paranoid about losing things. My mom taught me a trick. On the back of every drawing, in the bottom right corner underneath the fold of the canvas, I would write my initials and the date in lemon juice. You couldn't see it unless you held it up to heat or a black light, but sometimes if the light hit it just right and the paper aged, it would turn a faint brown. I adjusted my bow tie and smoothed down my vest. I walked back into the gallery. The party was in full swing. The woman who bought my painting was drinking red wine and laughing. Sterling was on the other side of the room, charming another group of rich folks. I grabbed a clean tray and a napkin. I moved through the crowd, keeping my head down. I made my way back to the painting. There was a security guard standing about 10 feet away, but he was busy texting on his phone. I waited until a large group of people walked between us, blocking his view. I stepped up to the painting. My hands were shaking. I pretended to be wiping a smudge off the frame with my napkin. I hooked my finger behind the bottom right corner of the frame and pulled it gently away from the wall. Just an inch. I squinted at the back of the canvas. The wood was old and stained. Come on, I whispered. I couldn't see anything. It was too dark in the shadow of the frame. I pulled my phone out of my pocket and turned on the flashlight, shielding the beam with my body so no one would see. I shone the light on the bottom corner of the canvas back. There it was. Faint, jagged, and brown. MD 2012. Maya Davis. 2012. It was mine. Undeniable proof. Hey, what are you doing? I jumped. The security guard was right there. He looked angry. I shoved my phone back in my pocket. I am so sorry, I stammered, putting on my best frightened employee voice. There was some dust on the frame. I was just trying to clean it. Don't touch the art, he snapped. Go serve drinks. I nodded and scurried away, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I had seen it. I had the proof. But proof in my head wasn't proof in a court of law. And who was going to believe a caterer over a pillar of the community like Marcus Sterling? I needed help. I needed someone who knew how to take down guys like him. I finished my shift on autopilot. I smiled at the guests, I poured the wine, I cleaned up the shattered glass when a drunk guy dropped his drink. But my mind was racing. When I finally clocked out, it was 2 a.m. I took the bus back to my tiny studio apartment in the bad part of town. The ride took 45 minutes. I spent the whole time searching on my phone. I looked up investigative journalists' art fraud. I looked up stolen children's art. I looked up Marcus Sterling lawsuits. Nothing came up on Sterling. He was clean. Or he was good at burying his dirt. But on the journalist search, one name kept popping up. Elias Thorne. He used to write for the big papers, the Times and the Post. He won awards for exposing corruption in the foster care system 5 years ago. But then he kind of fell off the map. His recent articles were on a small independent blog called The Underbelly. He wrote about the things nobody else wanted to touch. I found his contact info. Just a generic email address. I sat on the edge of my mattress, staring at the blinking cursor on my phone screen. What was I supposed to say? Hey, a rich guy stole my finger painting? It sounded ridiculous. But I thought about the painting. I thought about the poppy my mom gave me. I thought about how Sterling looked at me with those cold, dead eyes and lied about my death. I started typing. The Sterling collection is selling stolen lives. Mr. Thorne. My name is Maya Davis. I am a nobody. But tonight, I saw a painting I made when I was 11 years old selling for $150,000 at the Sterling collection. The owner, Marcus Sterling, was my social worker. He stole it from me the day he put me in foster care. He told the buyer I was dead. He has a whole gallery full of art from anonymous sources. I think I am not the only one. I think he has been stealing from kids for decades. I have proof. I know where the bodies are buried, figuratively speaking. I just need someone to help me dig. I hit send before I could talk myself out of it. I didn't sleep that night. I stared at the ceiling, listening to the sirens outside. I wondered if I had just made a huge mistake. Sterling was powerful. If he found out I was coming after him, he could crush me. I could lose my job. I could get blacklisted. But then I remembered the yellow kitchen. I remembered my mom's voice. Maya, she used to say, your art is your voice. Don't let anyone silence you. The next morning, I woke up to my phone buzzing. It wasn't my alarm. It was an email. From Elias Thorne. To Maya Davis. Subject. Meet me. Coffee shop on 4th and Main. Noon. Don't be late. And don't tell anyone. My hands were shaking as I brushed my teeth. This was real. This was actually happening. I put on my best clothes, which was just a clean pair of jeans and a gray sweater. I took the bus to 4th and Main. The coffee shop was a dive. The windows were foggy and it smelled like burnt beans. I saw him immediately. He looked like his picture but rougher. He had a beard that needed a trim and dark circles under his eyes. He was wearing a leather jacket that had seen better days. He was sitting in the back booth, nursing a black coffee. I walked over. Mr. Thorne? He looked up. His eyes were sharp, scanning me like he was reading a book. Sit down, Maya. I sat. You got 5 minutes, he said. Tell me exactly what you saw. And don't lie to me. I hate liars. I told him everything. I told him about the gallery, the price tag, the lie about the dead artist. I told him about the lemon juice signature on the back. I told him about Sterling taking me from my mom. When I finished, he didn't say anything for a long time. He just stared at his coffee. I started to get nervous. Maybe he didn't believe me. Maybe he thought I was just looking for a payout. Finally, he looked up. Sterling was the head of the Department of Child Services for this district for 15 years. Elias said quietly, before he retired and suddenly became an art connoisseur. I nodded. Yes. I investigated him back in the day, Elias said. There were rumors. Money missing from accounts. Kids' belongings disappearing during transfers. But we could never pin anything on him. He was too careful. He always had his paperwork in order. He leaned forward. If what you are saying is true, Maya, this isn't just about art theft. This is about a man abusing his power to rob the most vulnerable children in the city. He is stealing their memories and selling them to billionaires to hang in their foyers. Exactly, I said. Elias tapped his fingers on the table. 150 grand for a kid's painting. That is a lot of money. You know what that tells me? What? It tells me he is laundering money, Elias said. Or he has created a market based entirely on the fetishization of tragedy. Either way, it is sick. And it is a story that could bring the whole house of cards down. He pulled a notepad out of his jacket. But we need more than your memory. We need hard evidence. We need to prove a pattern. You said there were other paintings? Yes, I said. A lot of them. Okay, Elias said. Here is what we are going to do. You work there, right? I cater there. I am with an agency. Can you get back in? Think so. They have an exhibition running all week. Good, Elias said. I need you to be my eyes and ears. I need names of the other pieces. Photos if you can get them. I will start digging into the old foster care records. I still have sources inside the department. We need to match the artworks to the kids Sterling handled. If we can find one other kid whose art was stolen, just one, we have a case. He looked at me, his expression serious. Listen to me, Maya. This is dangerous. Sterling is not just a gallery owner. He is connected. Judges, politicians, police. If he catches you, he won't just fire you. He will destroy you. Are you sure you want to do this? I thought about the fear I felt when I was 11. I thought about the years I spent wondering if I was crazy, if I had imagined the life I had before. I thought about my mom dying alone, thinking she had failed me. I looked Elias Thorne in the eye. He stole my childhood, I said. I want it back. And I want to make sure he never does this to another kid again. I am all in. Elias grinned. It was a jagged, crooked smile. All right then. Let's go hunting. The plan was simple but terrifying. I was scheduled to work the closing night gala on Friday. That gave us 3 days. Elias would work the records, I would work the gallery. The next few days were a blur. I was terrified every time I walked into that building. I felt like Sterling could smell my intentions. But he barely looked at me. To him, I was still just the help. That was his mistake. He thought because I was poor, I was powerless. He forgot that the people who clean up the mess are the ones who see everything. I managed to snap photos of 5 other artworks when the guards weren't looking. I sent them to Elias. By Thursday night my phone rang. I got something, Elias said. His voice sounded tight. Meet me at the library. The main branch. I rushed over there. It was raining, a cold, miserable drizzle. I found Elias in the back corner of the reference section, surrounded by stacks of old files. Look at this, he said, sliding a photo across the table. It was a picture of a sculpture. The one made of wire and bottle caps I had seen in the gallery. Now look at this, he said, sliding a photocopy of an old newspaper clipping. It was an article from a local community paper, dated 14 years ago. The headline read, Local Youth Center wins state art competition. There was a photo of a group of smiling kids. And in the center, a young boy holding that exact wire sculpture. His name is Andre Williams, Elias said. He was in the system. Sterling was his caseworker. My heart was racing. Where is he now? Elias' face fell. He is in prison, Maya. Upstate. Armed robbery. He got 20 years. I felt a cold shiver. Another life derailed. We have to go see him, I said. We can't just walk into a prison, Elias said. I don't care, I said. If he knows Sterling stole that, and we tell him it is selling for 20 grand, he will talk. Elias sighed. He rubbed his eyes. You are relentless, you know that? I learned from the best, I said. I had to survive the system, remember? We got visitation approved for Saturday morning. But Friday night was the gala. The big night. The night my painting was supposed to be officially sold and taken down. I had 1 shift left. And I had a crazy idea. Elias told me to lay low. He told me to just gather intel. But I couldn't let that woman take my painting. Once it left the gallery, it would disappear into some private collection in the Hamptons and I might never see it again. I had to stall the sale. I showed up to the gallery on Friday night with a knot in my stomach the size of a fist. The place was packed. The woman in diamonds was there, looking triumphant. Sterling was holding court, looking like the king of the world. I was carrying a tray of red wine. I waited. I watched. Sterling led the woman toward my painting. They were shaking hands. A photographer was snapping pictures. Now or never. I walked toward them. I didn't walk like a server this time. I walked like a woman on a mission. I timed it perfectly. Just as the photographer flashed his camera, I tripped. I didn't actually trip, of course. I was agile, but I made it look good. I stumbled forward. The tray tipped. 4 glasses of expensive red wine went flying through the air. They didn't hit the people. They didn't hit the floor. They hit the wall inches from the painting. And one glass just one splashed dark red liquid right across the bottom of the frame and onto the little white card that said $150,000. The room went silent. Oh my God! The diamond woman shrieked. Sterling spun around. His face turned purple. I scrambled up, grabbing napkins, looking frantic. I am so sorry. I slipped. I am so sorry. I dabbed at the frame, making sure to smear the wine a little bit closer to the canvas without actually ruining the art. I needed to create a panic. I needed them to think the art was damaged so they would have to take it down for restoration. They couldn't sell a wine-stained painting. Get away from it! Sterling roared. He grabbed my arm. His grip was hard. Painful. He looked at me. Really looked at me. And for a second the mask slipped. I saw the recognition in his eyes. He didn't know my name, but he knew I was trouble. You clumsy idiot, he hissed. You are fired. Get out. I pulled my arm free. I didn't look down. I looked right at him. I will go, I said, my voice steady enough for him to hear, but quiet enough that the guests just thought I was apologizing. But you should be careful, Mr. Sterling. Wine stains are hard to get out. But blood stains? Those never wash away. His eyes widened. He knew. In that moment he knew that I knew. Security! He yelled. 2 guards grabbed me and dragged me toward the exit. I didn't fight. I didn't have to. I looked back over my shoulder. The diamond woman was backing away from the painting, looking disgusted by the mess. Sterling was frantically trying to clean the frame with a handkerchief, sweating. The sale was halted. I was thrown out into the alley again. I landed on my knees, scraping them against the concrete. I stood up, brushing off my pants. I was fired. I was broke. And I had just poked a very dangerous bear. But as I walked away from the gallery, listening to the rain start to fall, I smiled. I had bought us some time. Now we just had to get Andre to talk. And then we were going to burn Sterling's kingdom to the ground. The drive to the state penitentiary was long and quiet. The rain from the night before had turned into a thick gray fog that hugged the highway. I sat in the passenger seat of Elias's beat-up sedan, watching the wipers slap back and forth. Every slap felt like a countdown. We were running out of time. Sterling was powerful. He probably had lawyers trying to scrub the internet of my existence right now. We pulled up to the prison gates at 10 in the morning. The place looked like a concrete tomb. Barbed wire, guard towers, and a heaviness in the air that made it hard to swallow. We sat in the visitation room on metal stools bolted to the floor. The room smelled like bleach and despair. When the guards brought Andre out, he didn't look like the smiling kid in the newspaper clipping. He looked hard. He had a scar running through his eyebrow and tattoos on his neck. He sat down and looked at us with dead eyes. Who are you? He asked. His voice was rough, like he hadn't used it in days. I am Maya, I said. And this is Elias. We want to talk to you about Marcus Sterling. Andre laughed. It was a dry, humorless sound. That snake. I haven't heard that name in 10 years. What do you want? Is he running for mayor or something? No, Elias said. He is running an art gallery. Andre frowned. He leaned forward, the chains on his wrists clinking against the table. A gallery? The hell does he know about art? He is selling art, Andre, I said. He is selling a sculpture made of wire and bottle caps. He calls it urban resilience. He has a price tag on it for $20,000. Andre went still. His face went blank, but his eyes changed. The dead look vanished, replaced by a flash of confusion. My wireman, he whispered. Yes, I said. He told me he threw it out, Andre said, his voice rising. He told me it was trash. He said foster kids don't need junk cluttering up their rooms. He took it away in a box the day he moved me to the group home. He lied, Elias said softly. He kept it. And now he is getting rich off it. Andre slammed his fist on the table. The guard in the corner took a step forward, hand on his baton. Andre took a deep breath and lowered his hands, but his knuckles were white. I made that for my little brother, Andre said, looking down at the table. Before we got split up. It was the last thing I made before everything went bad. I thought it was in a landfill somewhere. It is in a showroom, I said. People are drinking champagne and looking at it. They think the artist is anonymous. They think you don't exist. Andre looked up at me. I saw the anger then. Pure hot righteous anger. It was the same fire I felt when I saw my yellow kitchen. What do you need me to do? He asked. Elias pulled a tape recorder out of his pocket. Just tell the truth. Tell us exactly what happened. Tell us he took it. Tell us he lied. Andre talked for an hour. He told us about the abuse, the negligence, and the theft. He gave us names of other kids. A girl who drew charcoal portraits. A boy who carved wood. Sterling had a pattern. He targeted the talented ones, the ones with no family to fight for them. He took their art as trophies, waited for us to disappear into the system, and then sold our souls. When we walked out of that prison, we had the ammo. We had Andre's testimony on tape. We had the photos I took. We had my memory. But Elias said it wasn't enough to just go to the cops. Sterling had friends in the precinct. If we handed this over quietly, it would disappear. The tape would get lost. The case would get buried. We have to do this publicly, Elias said as he started the car. We have to make it impossible for them to look away. How? I asked. Sterling is holding a press conference tomorrow morning. Elias said. He posted about it an hour ago. He is going to talk about the vandalism at the gallery. He is going to play the victim. He wants to spin the story that a crazy employee tried to destroy a masterpiece. I smiled. It was a grim smile. He is inviting the press? All the local channels will be there, Elias said. Perfect, I said. Let's crash the party. The next morning I woke up feeling calm. It was the calm before the storm. I put on my catering uniform one last time. I wanted him to see me exactly as I was. The help. The nobody. The ghost he thought he could erase. I met Elias around the corner from the gallery. He was carrying a large duffel bag. You ready for this? He asked. I was born ready, I said. The gallery was crowded with reporters. Cameras were set up, microphones were waiting. Sterling stood at a podium in front of my painting. The wine stain was still there on the frame, dark and ugly. He looked solemn. He looked like a grieving father. We live in a time where beauty is under attack, Sterling was saying into the microphones. This piece, Innocence Lost, represents the fragile hope of our city's youth. And yesterday, a disturbed young woman tried to destroy it. It breaks my heart. He paused for effect. He was good. He was really good. But we will restore it, he continued. We will not let hate win. I walked through the front door. The security guard from the other night stepped in front of me. Hey, you can't be in here, he growled. Elias stepped up behind me. He flashed a press badge from 10 years ago, but he looked confident enough that it worked. She is with me, Elias said. She is a witness. The guard hesitated. That split second was all I needed. I pushed past him and walked straight into the room. Mr. Sterling. I shouted. The cameras turned. The reporters turned. Sterling froze mid-sentence. His eyes locked onto me, and for the first time I saw fear. Real fear. You, he snarled. Get her out of here. I didn't stop walking. I walked right up to the cameras. My name is Maya Davis. I yelled, my voice echoing off the white walls. And I am not a disturbed woman. I am the artist. The room erupted in whispers. The cameras zoomed in on me. He is lying to you. I shouted, pointing a shaking finger at Sterling. He told you the artist was dead. He told you this was an estate sale. But I am right here. I am alive. This is preposterous, Sterling stammered, his face turning red. She is a disgruntled former employee. She is mentally unstable. I reached the podium. I stood right next to him. He smelled like expensive cologne and fear. Tell them where you got it, Marcus, I said. Tell them how you took it from my kitchen table when I was 11 years old. Tell them how you dragged me screaming from my mother and told me you would keep it safe. Security. Sterling screamed. 2 guards rushed forward. Now Elias. I yelled. Elias pulled a heavy-duty UV blacklight out of his duffel bag. He plugged it into a floor outlet near the painting. I ducked under the guard's arm. I grabbed the painting off the wall. Put it down. Sterling shrieked. He lunged at me. I spun around, holding the canvas like a shield. Elias flipped the switch on the blacklight. The room dimmed as the powerful purple beam hit the painting. "Look!" I screamed. "Look at the back." I flipped the canvas over. I held it up to the light. The reporters gasped. The cameras flashed like lightning. There, glowing bright neon green in the purple light, were the letters. MD 2012. The lemon juice. My mom's trick. It was unmistakable. Maya Davis 2012. I shouted. "I signed this 12 years ago. Unless a ghost can sign a painting, Mr. Sterling is a fraud." Sterling stopped. He looked at the glowing letters. He looked at the cameras. He looked at the crowd. His face went pale. He knew it was over. But we weren't done. Elias pulled out a portable speaker and hit play. Andre's voice boomed through the gallery. He told me he threw it out. He said foster kids don't need junk. He stole my life. The reporters were shouting questions now. They were swarming Sterling. "Is it true? Did you steal these artworks? Are the artists alive?" Sterling tried to back away, but there was nowhere to go. The wall of cameras had him trapped. He looked small. He looked like exactly what he was. A thief. I lowered the painting. My arms were shaking. I looked at the yellow kitchen. I looked at the red flower. I felt a hand on my shoulder. It was Elias. "We got him, kid," he whispered. The police arrived 10 minutes later. They didn't arrest me. They arrested Marcus Sterling. They cuffed him right there in front of his stolen collection. As they walked him out, he looked at me. He didn't look angry anymore. He just looked defeated. I didn't look away. I watched him until he was gone. The aftermath was chaotic. The story went viral instantly. #StolenChildhoods was trending worldwide. Other kids came forward. Dozens of them. Adults now, who recognized their old drawings and sculptures in the news coverage. It turned out Sterling had a storage unit full of art he had confiscated over 20 years. Millions of dollars worth of stolen memories. Andre got a lawyer. A good one, paid for by a crowdfunding campaign that Elias started. He was working on an appeal for his sentence, and with Sterling's corruption exposed, it looked like he might actually get a second chance. A month later, I was back in the gallery. But it wasn't Sterling's gallery anymore. The state had seized it as evidence, but they allowed me in to collect my property. The room was empty. The walls were bare. The silence was different now. It wasn't heavy. It felt clean. I walked over to the table where my painting was sitting, wrapped in brown paper. Elias was waiting for me by the door. "What are you going to do with it?" he asked. Picked it up. It felt light. "I am not going to sell it," I said. "I am going to hang it in my apartment, above the stove." Elias smiled. "Good choice." I walked out of the gallery and into the sunlight. It was a bright, clear day. The kind of day my mom loved. I thought about her. I thought about how she used to hold my hand when we crossed the street. I thought about how she fought for me, even when she was too sick to fight. I didn't get to save her. I couldn't rewrite the past. The years I lost in the system were gone. The pain was still there, a scar that would never fully fade. But as I walked down the street, holding my yellow kitchen against my chest, I realized something. Sterling tried to sell my pain. He tried to put a price tag on my trauma. But he failed. Because my story wasn't for sale. My voice wasn't for sale. I stopped at the corner and looked up at the sky. I took a deep breath. Tasted like freedom. "We did it, Mom," I whispered. I got it back. And for the first time in 12 years, I didn't feel like a ghost. I felt real. I felt like Maya. And I had a lot of painting left to do.